What makes up our nightmares? Where do they come from? Mm. We didn't want to go. We didn't want to kill them, but its persistent silence and outstretched arms horrified and comforted us at the same time. 1983, photographer unknown, presumed dead. The Slender Man was born on June 8, 2009, the result of an entry into a photoshopped paranormal images contest on the message boards of the website Something Awful. Username Victor Surge, himself a fan of H.P. Lovecraft, Stephen King, and various urban legends on the web, submitted several photos of everyday, albeit strange scenes, each haunted by a creature in the background. They were all accompanied by unsettling captions. One of two recovered photographs from the Sterling City Library blaze, notable for being taken the day which 14 children vanished and for what is referred to as the Slender Man. Deformities cited as film defects by officials. Fire at library occurred 1 week later. Actual photograph confiscated as evidence. 1986. Photographer Mary Thomas. Missing since June 13, 1986. The photos instantly captured the attention of others, and the Slender Man quickly exploded past the boundaries of the message board. A web series called Marble Hornets gained attention on YouTube and was soon joined by fellow series Tribe 12 and Everyman Hybrid. All of these series did a great deal to expand the Slender Man mythos to the point of widespread recognition throughout the web. There is now a Slender Man computer game, several feature-length Slender Man movies, and as far as creepy web memes go, Slender Man appears to be the reigning king. So what is the Slender Man, and what makes him so scary? He is, simply enough, an abnormally tall, suited man with no face who stands in the background of whatever images he appears in. At his most inhuman moments, he reveals a Lovecraftian assortment of tentacles that sprout from his form. In some traditions, he hunts children, and in others adolescents. Sometimes he viciously dismembers his victims, and sometimes he has a human underling do it. Sometimes he just stalks someone until they go mad. Horror blogger James Van Fleet proposes that the Slender Man fits into the archetypal role of the tall, dark lurker, previously inhabited by figures like Caesar from the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, the Gentleman and Der Kindestod from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and Michael Myers from Halloween. The pale silence of Dracula and the sheer size and indomitability of Frankenstein are combined in this one figure with no or very unrecognizable face. Van Fleet draws us back to Carl Jung's dream archetype, the shadow, the moral problem which involves recognizing dark aspects of the personality as present and real. To bring this back to the Slender Man, he is scary because he reflects ourselves, yet is immediately recognizable as not one of us. He wears a suit and is definitely humanoid in appearance, yet a further examination reveals his unsettling height, his lack of face, and the possible extra appendages he possesses. This descent into the uncanny valley between human and not human is more than most can handle. Indeed, in most Slender Man traditions, to look upon his face is to gaze into insanity itself. The Slender Man's blank face and vague menace, balanced between outright violence and unsettling stalking, allow for an open template upon which any and all might be allowed to project fears and anxieties. While older forms of urban legends and even net lore deal with fears of sexuality and dismemberment, the Slender Man can reach beyond those boundaries into the ineffable fears of young men and women who, thanks to the internet, have already seen it all. This allows for an even more adaptable form of creepypasta, one wherein the blog or YouTube commenter can engage with and add to the story just as much as the original teller. Indeed, many of the materials that deal with Slender Man, whether blogs or web series, are known as ARGs, or alternate reality games. This connotes an ongoing play between performer and audience. On the scholarly front, Slender Man falls into the category of net lore, which the scholar Russell Frank defines as a folklore which is a form of subversive play in a communicative universe that runs parallel to and often parodies, mocks, or comments mordantly on official channels of communication. The form of net lore to which Slender Man belongs is a medium called creepypasta, variations of copypasta, stories called so because of their easily copy and paste in nature. Creepypasta now takes the form of photos and videos as well as simple blocks of text, and is constantly evolving and interweaving. For example, the Slender Man web series Everyman Hybrid incorporates creepypasta character The Rake into its ongoing saga. The scholarly examination of modern urban legend continues. Robin Croft argues that the haunted forest of yore has been replaced with an urban landscape peopled with drug dealers, kidnappers, pedophiles, Satanists, and unspecified bad people. The urban legend, having replaced the Sylvan ghost story, comes full circle in the form of Slender Man, an undoubtedly supernatural haint who haunts both the forest and the urban landscape, taking up residence in the darkened back road, the abandoned warehouse, and the small suburban space in between the civilized and the wild. Taking this aspect of Slender Man into account, one can see that he is a new form of monster for a new medium. Social media allows us to see one another's lives through the internet in constant connectivity, yet it keeps us isolated in front of glowing screens. Slender Man is the product of a social consciousness operating across a digital landscape, and thus portrays the fears of this particular group and setting. The documentation process is ripped apart by Slender Man. Various storylines have him disrupting videotape and digital recording, distorting audio, and even appearing in and out of photographs. Victor Surge's original message board posts followed a quasi-storyline, wherein he uploaded pictures of the Slender Man onto the internet until the creature finally came and silenced him. His last moments, even, are documented on the message board, yet there is nothing that the audience can do to help him. He tells his story to a community, but he is ultimately alone. Slender Man emotes fears of aloneness and the voluntary isolation that comes from browsing the web ad nauseum. The game Slender itself is sometimes a social experience, but is most scary when played alone, in the middle of the night, and in a dark house. The Slender Man is in this way unique among horror narratives that the creative source of anxiety and the vehicle in the story are one and the same. The very fact that a hive mind can create such a being as the Slender Man is united with the fear that an obsession with him will lead to his actual appearance in a person's life. Previous horror narratives, such as locale-centered ghost stories, work to unite the setting of the telling with the subject matter, and urban legends like that of the Candyman work so that belief increases a story's power. Only now, with the mimetic power of the internet, are the two factors joined. This has had interesting repercussions, to say the least. The listener of the ghost story now feeds back into the story with such a variety of media that the original teller finds its own creation instantly out of his or her own hands. The story of the Slender Man is not a story about the other which exists in some foreign social realm, but is all about the danger of the self. Indeed, as far as a critique of self-absorption and possibly over-medicated paranoia go, the Slender Man proves very effective. The internet has also provided ironic and parodic corrective to fear of Slender Man, including Splendor Man and the Gimme $20 meme. Regardless, the Slender Man is a constantly evolving ghost story, and as a way of communicating anxiety over isolation with a constantly connected society, it is simultaneously effective and terrifying. Go ahead, scream, yell, rage against that which dwells in the dark. You can vlog, post, Facebook, and tweet about it, but it's still coming for you. You and I are alone. Alone with one other. Don't turn